Hey up me duck YouTube, welcome back to another video with Rams fan YT. In today's video we'll be going down to the south coast in the wonderful seaside town of Bournemouth and the football club there of AFC Bournemouth, which have had very recent success, but as we'll find out, it wasn't always that way. Although the exact date of the club's foundation is not known, there is proof that it was formed in the autumn of 1899, out of the remains of the older Boscombe St John's Institute Football Club. The club was originally known as Boscombe Football Club, and the first president was Mr. J.C. Nutt. In their first season of 1899-1900, Boscombe competed in the Bournemouth and District Junior League. They also played in the Hampshire Junior Cup, even though they might have been in Hampshire at that time, before it transferred to Dorset. During the first two seasons, they played on a football pitch in Castlemaine Avenue, which is in Postdown if you know the area. From their third season, the team played on a pitch in Kings Park. In the 1905-06 season, Boscombe graduated to senior amateur football. In 1910, the club was granted a long lease over some wasteland next to Kings Park as the club's football ground by local businessman J.E. Cooper Dean, with their own ground named Dean Court after the benefactor. Sorry, I've just been eating some crisps. The club continued to thrive and dominated the local football scene. The same year, the club signed its first professional player of Bevan Penton. It's very difficult to get that out. Around about this time, the club attained the nickname the Cherries. There are two explanations potentially for this, of how the club did gain their nickname. From one of which is the cherry red striped shirts that the team played in. And perhaps less of a plausible one is because Dean Court was built adjacent to the Cooper Dean estate, which it is believed may have contained many cherry trees, although how much substantiated evidence there is for that, I do not know. For the first time during the 1913-14 season, the club competed in the FA Cup. The club's progress, however, was halted in the 1914 with the outbreak of World War I, and Boscombe returned to the Hampshire League. In 1920, the third division of the Football League was formed, and Boscombe were promoted to the Southern League, because of all the other clubs moving up, and they found moderate success. To make the club more representative of the district, the name was changed to Bournemouth and Boscombe Athletic Football Club in 1923. During the same year, the club was elected to the newly expanded 3rd Division South. The first league match was at Swindon Town on the 25th of August 1923, in which Bournemouth lost 3-1. Also happened to be the first league game at Dean Court was also against Swindon, where Bournemouth gained their first league point after a 0-0 draw. It's very strange how they played each other back to back pretty much. Initially, Bournemouth struggled in the Football League, but they eventually established themselves as a 3rd Division club, and Bournemouth remains on the records as the longest continuous members of the 3rd Division. As a league club, Bournemouth had to wait until the Second World War before winning their first trophy. This was accomplished as they beat Walsall in the 3rd Division South Cup in the final at Stamford Bridge. It's a bit like the EFL trophy now, just for the southern half, and only Division 3. The club adopted the AFC Bournemouth name in 1971, with the intention of the club appearing first in the alphabetical list of English clubs, as well as to avoid complication with the nearby non-league club Bournemouth FC. A year later, the club adopted a new badge as the symbol of the club's progress. The stripes in the background were based on the club's shirt of black and red, while in the foreground is a profile of a player heading the ball. This player, I think, is meant to be Dickie Dowsett, who was a prolific goalscorer for the club in the 1950s and 1960s. Although I personally think it looks a bit like the Atalanta one, if you know the logo I'm talking about. Their red and black kit, which was introduced in 1971, was based on the AC Milan strip. So I think they've just taken some influences from all over Italy, to be fair. This was the era of Ted McDougall. He was a prolific goalscorer who, in an FA Cup tie in November 1971, scored 9 goals in an 11-0 win against Margate, who probably were non-league at the time, I reckon. Bournemouth recorded a famous victory over the holders Manchester United in the FA Cup in January 1984, while they were managed by Harry Redknapp. The club won its second piece of silverware by winning the Associate Members' Cup in its inaugural season. This later became known as the EFL Trophy, where they beat Hull City 2-1 at the Booth Ferry Park on the 24th of May 1984 in the final. Redknapp took Bournemouth into the second tier of English football for the first time in their history as the third division champions in 1987. After comfortably surviving in their first season in second division, Bournemouth made a serious challenge for promotion to the top flight in the 1988-89 season. He ultimately fell away after a poor run late in the season, but their eventual finish of 12th place remained their highest ever in the Football League until the 2013-14 season. On the 5th of May 1990, the final day of the 1989-90 season, Leeds United had a chance to win the second division and gain promotion into the first division by beating Bournemouth at Dean Court. Some United fans had already caused trouble in the town during the morning, and the atmosphere was tense as Leeds won the match by a single goal. Combined with the results of other matches, this meant that Leeds were promoted, while Bournemouth were relegated. The violence and destruction by visitors to Bournemouth continued over the holiday weekend and caused more than £1 million worth of damage and injury to opposing fans and police officers. The town's Daily Echo newspaper reported that spectators, including many young children, had to run to safety as missiles were hurled and riot police waded in to control the crowds. This is a very big problem with Leeds United. The matter was raised in Parliament by one of the town's MPs, and financially the Leeds trouble affected the club for more than a decade, as Bournemouth were prevented by local police from staging home games on bank holidays, which was traditionally a popular day for football, until a game against Shrewsbury Town on the 21st of April 2003. Redknapp remained at the club for 2 more seasons, both of which ended with the club falling 3 points short of the playoffs. However, mounting financial pressures caused him to resign his position at the end of the 1991-92 season, and he subsequently rejoined former club West Ham United as a coach. He was replaced by Tony Pulis, who built a much cheaper squad that could only manage 2 consecutive 17th place finishes before Pulis walked out of the club, blaming financial pressures also. Bournemouth went the first few months of the 1994-95 season without a permanent manager in place, and a dreadful start saw them bottom of the table for much of the first half of the season. Despite a minor upturn in form when Mel Machin was appointed as manager, it looked highly unlikely to survive, given that there were 5 relegation spots in Division 2 for that season, due to the league reconstruction and reducing of teams. However, the late run of form, combined with the collapse of relegation rivals Cambridge United and Plymouth Argyle, saw them survive on the last day of the season by 2 points. Machin ultimately remained in charge for 6 years, most of which were marked by unremarkable mid-table finishes. The 1998-99 season proved to be arguably the highest of his tenure, with the club making a serious playoff challenge for most of the season, but ultimately falling short and finishing 7th. However, a drop to 16th place in the 1999-2000 season, followed by a poor start to the following season, saw Machin removed from his position and given the role of Director of Football. Sean O'Driscoll was promoted from the coaching staff in place of Mel Machin at the start of the 2000 and 2001 season. In O'Driscoll's first season as manager, Bournemouth narrowly missed out on the Division 2 playoffs, but were relegated a year later in the new stadium. In the early part of the 2001-2 season, they played their home matches at Dorchester Town's ground, while their own stadium was being redeveloped. Just as a side note there. The board kept faith in Odriscourt and they were rewarded with promotion via the Division 3 playoffs in 2002-3 season. The club became the first to score 5 goals at the Millennium Stadium when they beat Lincoln City 5-2 in the 2002-3 Division 3 playoff final, with goals from Steve Fletcher, Carl Fletcher, who scored 2, Stephen Purchase and Gareth O'Connor. Under O'Driscoll, Bournemouth narrowly missed out on the playoffs for the 2003-4 and 2004-5 seasons, and just avoided relegation in the 2005-6 season. Long-serving player James Hayter scored the fastest hat-trick in English Football League history during the 2003-4 season. The Cherries were leading 3-0 against Wrexham thanks to goals from Stephen Purchase, Warren Cummings and Warren Feeney. When Hayter was brought onto the field as a substitute, with 86 minutes gone, Hayter managed to net 3 goals in the space of 2 minutes and 17 seconds, making the final score 6-0 to Bournemouth. Absolutely unbelievable stuff there. In September 2006, the team in 8th in the league, Sean O'Driscoll, left to become manager of Doncaster Rovers. He was replaced by Kevin Bond. In February 2008, Bournemouth were forced into administration, suffering a 10-point deduction, which put them in relegation trouble. Bournemouth had debts of around about £4 million and almost went out of business completely. The off-field uncertainty continued throughout the season, with only one ultimately unsuccessful bid for the club accepted. And the club ended the season being relegated to League 2. Ahead of the 2008-9 season, the team's future in the Football League was put into doubt when the league threatened to block Bournemouth's participation in League 2 due to problems with the club's continuing administration and changing ownership. The league ordered both Bournemouth and Rotherham United to demonstrate that they could fulfil all their fixtures and find a way out of administration, eventually allowing the club to compete with a 17-point penalty for failing to follow the Football League insolvency rules. The new company was also ordered to pay unsecured creditors the amount offered at the time of the original CVA, which was around 10 pence in the pound, within 2 years. Early into the season, manager Bond was sacked and was replaced by former player Jimmy Quinn, who would himself leave the club after a few months. Former player Eddie Howe, or I hear the shouts and screams and whoops already from Bournemouth fans here, who took over as manager with the club still 10 points adrift at the bottom of the league, and initially on a caretaker basis. He actually became the youngest manager in the Football League at the age of 31. At the end of 2008, it was announced that local businessman Adam Murray had completed the purchase of 50% of the club's shares from the previous chairman Paul Baker. However, in January 2009, Murray missed the deadline to buy Baker's shares. In the final home game of the 2008-9 season, the Cherries guaranteed their Football League status by beating Grimsby Town 2-1 with a winning goal 10 minutes on time by Bournemouth's Steve Fletcher, sparking wild celebrations after a fairy tale ending to the Great Escape. They finished their troubled season with their best away win in 30 years, with a 4-0 victory at Morecambe. In June 2009, a consortium including Adam Murray finally took over Bournemouth. The consortium included Jeff Mostyn, former Vice Chairman Steve Sly, Neil Blake and former Dorchester Town Chairman Eddie Mitchell. Howe's first full season in charge brought success as Bournemouth finished second in League 2 to earn promotion with 2 games to spare. Howe subsequently left the club for Burnley during the following season. His successor, another former Bournemouth player, Lee Bradbury, led Bournemouth to the League 1 playoffs. The 2-legged semi-final against Huddersfield Town finished 3-3 after extra time, and Huddersfield went through to the final by winning the penalty shootout 4-2. Bradbury was unable to lead Bournemouth to another promotion challenge in the 2011-12 Football League 1, placing 11th after a season of indifferent results, and was replaced by youth team coach Paul Groves for the final games of the season. Groves remained in charge at the start of the 2012-13 season, only to be sacked in October 2012, following a start which left the club near the bottom of the table. Eddie Howe returned as manager, and not only did he pull the club away from their early season relegation battle, they achieved promotion to the Championship, returning to the second tier of the English football for the first time since 1990. The club also revealed a new club crest, after a promising start to the Championship. The club was handed a fourth round FA Cup tie with Premier League club Liverpool, which ended in a 2-0 loss. Bournemouth finished their first season back in the Championship in 10th place, their highest position in the Football League. On the 25th of October 2014, Bournemouth won 8-0 away at St Andrews against Birmingham City. It was the first time that the Cherries had ever scored 8 goals in a league game, and their largest winning margin in the league, not counting a 10-0 win over Northampton Town in September 1939, which was discounted after the league was abandoned due to the Second World War. The club followed up this success with a 2-1 victory over Premier League side West Bromwich Albion in the League Cup, reaching the quarter-finals of the competition for the first time. Bournemouth were again drawn against Liverpool, but this time they lost by 3-1. The club spent most of the 2014-15 season near the bottom of the table, and a 3-0 win away at Charlton Athletic on the final day of the season was enough to clinch the Championship title, and a first ever promotion to the top flight of football. That's a bit odd, that. Did I say near the bottom? I meant near the top. I don't know what I said, to be fair. In Bournemouth's first season though in the Premier League, the team was beset by a number of crippling injuries, including Callum Wilson, star striker from the previous season. The team struggled for most of the first half of the season, but not turned in form during the second half of the season, saw a reversal of fortunes. Bournemouth eventually finished 16th in the league, avoiding relegation. The club was wildly tipped to suffer second season syndrome, but the 2016-17 season was largely successful, to be fair. Despite a weak start, which saw them in the relegation zone for the first 3 weeks, the team quickly recovered and went on to finish an amazing 9th place. Star loan player Nathan Ake was signed permanently from Chelsea for a club record fee in June 2017, reportedly in the region of about £20 million. Despite another slow start in the 2017-18 season, a good run of form through late December and January saw them stay clear of the relegation zone and earn Howe his second Premier League Manager of the Month award. Bournemouth went on to gain 19 points from losing positions in the second half of the season. This is actually a Premier League record, helping the team finish in 12th place. The 2018-19 season saw the club break their record again on Jefferson Lerma during the summer. And contrasting with the previous season, the club had a strong start, sitting in 6th place after 12 games. It's absolutely insane. However, their form regressed for the remainder of the season due to many injury problems. In the end, Bournemouth finished in 14th place, securing a 5th season in the Premier League. A bright start to the 2019-20 season saw the team sitting in 7th place at the beginning of November. However, continuing injury problems and a poor run of results followed, and the club dropped into relegation zone in January. Poor performances continued after the COVID-19 pandemic had interrupted the season, and key losses to Manchester City and Southampton, putting the club on the brink. Despite a 3-1 victory over Everton on the final day, the club's relegation was confirmed due to results elsewhere. On the 1st of August 2020, Howe left the club by mutual consent, ending his 8-year second spell as manager. By the way, just on a side note, in 2016, Bournemouth was found guilty of violating the Football League's financial fair play regulations during the 2014-15 season. The season it secured promotion to the Premier League, the club's overspend broke the maximum deviation, with a £38.3 million financial loss in 2014-15. This followed a loss of £10.3 million in 2013-14. The club was originally fined £7.6 million by the Football League, but was subsequently negotiated with a fine of £4.75 million for breaching financial fair play rules. The decision followed months of speculation and investigation of the club breaking Football League regulations. Back to the continuation though. On the 8th of August, Jason Tindall, a former Bournemouth player and Howe's long-time assistant, was appointed as manager. Nathan Ake also left the club, signing for Manchester City for a reported club record for £41 million. Despite sitting second in mid-December, Tindall was sacked on the 3rd of February 2021 after a run of only one win in 8 games, which saw the team fall to 6th in the table. He was replaced by first-team coach Jonathan Woodcake, initially as a caretaker. So I hope you very much enjoyed that video. Remember to stick around for a bit of regular football content. We do stuff like this all the time. We've got, coming up on the weekend, we've got the best football players from Africa. And then I'm going to do an occasional Tuesday, continuing from last week's theme of the Champions League winners, where are they now? I'm doing it for the Europa League. And then a precise week to today, we're going to be doing a history of Brentford, I want to say. It might change, depending on what I think. That's only a guess. But thank you very much, and please subscribe for a bit of regular football content, and goodbye for now.